All right, so after a little bit of a distraction with the landing gear and wheels and tires and brakes and engine mount and battery and firewall and solenoids and contactors and all that fun stuff, it's time to get back to the electronics of this thing. So I'm going to remove the wiring harness from the plane where I have had it sitting after a trial fit to ease any concerns I had that I was going to wind up with things being too short. It'll go back on the table. I'm going to make some very minor adjustments, and then I'm going to take it further down the road toward completion. It is definitely enough to give you some anxiety if you're not completely confident in your ability to get this thing back out of the plane and onto the table. Which I'm not, by the way. I have absolute zero confidence that I haven't screwed something up here.
So here's the deal. This goes on and on and on. In fact, I have hours and hours of this because it took hours and hours to put these connectors on. But I'm not going to show it all because I don't think you want to see it all. But I will show some highlights and some of the cooler moments and some of the better footage I got. All in all, it's not that difficult. It's actually really, really fun. Now there are some more difficult aspects, like these CAN bus nodes for one can be a bit of a pain, but once you get it down, it's pretty straightforward.
With the connector for the GSU completed, I'm feeling a little bit of confidence here. So I'm going to tackle one more. I've got all the wires run for the remote radio. We'll get a connector on that. We'll take a look at the plane and see where we go from here. The GTR20, the remote radio, connector's on, very straightforward. I'm trucking along, I'm gonna keep moving. Next up, the PFD, which is some of the biggest bundles that I have. This next connection might take some time. Once again, packages, this time around, the mounting brackets that I recently designed. I'm a little sad I didn't spring for the gold anodization. Yeah, I'm bummed. I would have liked to. It was additional money, and I'm feeling the pinch. The other impression I get is that they're pretty beefy. I may have over-engineered this a bit and selected slightly thicker material than necessary. The fit is phenomenal. So test fit, I would say out of 10, they're like a 65%. They don't fit quite as well as I had hoped, but you know, I think they will work. Some of the key differences are some of the angles between the sub panel and the panel maybe weren't designed to line up perfectly, and I sort of assumed that they would. Looking at it now in the plane, some questions are raised. Are the spots that I've mapped out for nut plates going to interfere with future avionics, like switches? That's the number one concern, I think, right now, is am I going to be able to design this and dodge the switches with the back end of the nut plates and screws coming through? We'll see. I think I can get it to work. If not, I can always redesign them. And maybe next time, if I have them made again, I can get that gold I was hoping for.
Anybody that's building a plane knows that it's basically just spending money. The entire project is just spending money. And I'm at that point where the money is no longer spent on these big consolidated kits, but just daily boxes on my doorstep coming from Amazon, Aircraft, Spruce, Stein, you name it.
More wire.
I share this because budgeting is an incredibly important part of these projects, just as important as crimping wires or bucking rivets.
More.
And while an incomplete budget might not cause a plane to fall out of the sky, it could prevent you from ever getting there in the first place. My budget was fairly comprehensive, and so far has been fairly accurate. There's two areas where I miscalculated. The second area I miscalculated is all the incidentals related to avionics and systems. I gathered up everything I thought I needed and I multiplied it by 2. I think I probably should have multiplied it by 5 or 10. The first area that I miscalculated, you're probably wondering, I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with schmankruptcy.
Some lighting, terminals, ground connections, and I believe some solder sleeves. Or not, no solder sleeves, great. That was the number one thing I needed. And you might be wondering, Ryan, why don't you just order this stuff all at once so you don't have to do this? I can't. Because it's like every time I order something and I get it in the mail and I sit down to do what I wanted to do, and then I realize, oh crap, I need something else. Because this is the first time I've done this. I don't know if you know that. I haven't built a plane before. Balls, man. And this. So this is a revised panel, and this whole panel experience has been a little overwhelming for me. It turns out it may be that these temporary panels, while they've served a purpose, maybe not as effective as I thought. But I gathered everything I have learned, or thought I learned, or think I learned from these, and all the modifications I've made to get things to fit. And I thought, what the hell? We'll just shoot for an aluminum panel. It is bent, it's fabricated to match the vans. This might very well wind up being the actual panel. Truth is, it's barely any additional cost than the plastic one, so screw it. You know, if I'm going to order a different plastic one, I might as well get an aluminum one. So we'll see if that works. The solder sleeves went, because that was like the number one thing I was looking forward to today. I'm out of solder sleeves. Now, I never planned to even use solder sleeves. You don't have to necessarily use solder sleeves in a lot of your connections. In fact, when I took the course and I made this practice harness, I did it a few different ways. One with the solder sleeves, and the other which is to use the shield braid for your grounds. And I planned on doing that method for this until I was shopping and I found all these uniform length green ground wires, and I thought that'd be cool. You know me, everything's gonna match and it's gonna be perfect in the same length, and I'll do this and add in solder sleeves. And then next thing you know, I didn't realize solder sleeves were like $1 a pop, and I didn't do the math, but I'm gonna wind up spending like 50 to 100 bucks on solder sleeves that I may have been able to avoid. But oh well, I'm halfway down that road now, so I ordered a bunch more solder sleeves. While I didn't have any solder sleeves, I got some odd jobs around the airplane done. I added my vents, and then that took me on this other tangent to add a piece to the dashboard that will eventually hold my vents. Let's look at the whole vent saga for a minute. Yeah, here's a smell you don't forget, and you don't miss either. It's like a sack. So I've got the plastic inserts in the fuselage, the NAC event SV1 parts. Now those don't lead anywhere in this kit. The vents that were provided with the kit, you get a notice, have been discontinued, and you're left with a couple options. You can spend an ungodly amount of money on a decent pair of vents, or you can spend a reasonable amount of money on some crappy vents. And I didn't want crappy vents. This is something that I'm gonna mess with pretty much each flight. So I went with the high-priced but very fine quality vents. They're made from aluminum. They're machined. They're beautiful. They really are. I'm very excited to have them in my cockpit. I don't, however, have a place to put them. I have been messing with some little brackets. I've been prototyping here by hand, and I think I've got it down to a part that's going to work perfect. I'm going to do one more test part before I order anything. Let's take a look at how I made these.
I'm happy with how the vents have turned out. Really happy, in fact. So I think I'll go ahead and get those cut from something that'll look nice there in the cockpit. Other areas of the panel and sub-panel that are fitting fantastic, and then there's still some areas that need some finesse. Right now I'm going to hold tight on making any major changes, and I'm going to get back to the harness. A shout out to all the dads working through projects with their children, and a special shout out to mine who continually helps, not only in person, but via phone every weekend as I noodle through this project. So happy Father's Day, everyone.
Harness, working on the connectors. There's been a few little, I mean, very, very minor hiccups, but it's fun. Like, yeah. But that'd be kind of fun.
Alright, here's the deal. I know I promised I wouldn't show you every connector, and I don't plan to, but I had some fantastic footage, and I thought it would be good, in case there's anybody still out there that'd like to see a little more of the procedure of pinning out these connectors to the end of your bundles. Now, unfortunately, I still haven't mastered the art of the microphone, so it has no sound. Once again, we're going to switch to music, but first, I want to give everybody a really sincere thank you. Everybody who comments, likes, subscribes, especially the gentleman who went ahead and helped pay for some of the shipping for one of those many, many packages you saw earlier. I appreciate it all. It's incredibly satisfying to put out videos that I know people are enjoying. Soon we're going to be riveting the whole forward section of the panel together and the sub panel and screwing in all of this and getting some electricity channeled to these components. If you want to be along for that ride, make sure you're one of those aforementioned subscribers, and otherwise we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching Ryan Flies.